The meeting to order.
Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Bob Corbus.
Here?
Kay Mikely, here. Sean Dreyer.
Here.
Lou Ennisser.
Here.
Ralph Kendall.
Here.
Dee Monroe. Here. All present.
Okay. 6 out of 7. We're still looking for a 7th person, and hopefully we'll get somebody soon.
I received a call last night from Tom Blackburn. He's one of the
Well-
water improvement facilities.
Okay, all right. Can we look at the minutes and see if we have any concerns, or if everything looks good?
I move that we approve the minutes.
I
Second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And any audience comments? No? Find anything in the magazine this morning? No? Okay. Old business, update on water quality information.
I think that's me.
That's Lou.
As I mentioned at our last meeting, I took part of what we got from the Grandbrier information from EPA, the FOIA, and I put together a document that lists all the potential contaminants for groundwater, what unit they're in, the maximum allowable, a partial list of potential groundwater sources, and a partial list of high concentration long-term exposure effects. I got all this information came from either one of four sources, and that is the US EPA, the Illinois EPA, United States Geological Survey, and the Illinois Water Survey data and table. So I wanted to make sure that we got the information from reputable entity. So, and this is, I thought, maybe a useful document, and there's a lot of things on here that people will never have to deal with. I mean, there's some nasty contaminants in here, but there are also the normal contaminants that you might find in well water, like
Iron.
Yeah, iron and maybe fluoride and chloride and things like that. So I thought if the committee wants to, we could take this and put it on the website. I've already talked to Peter about it, and I think we're okay. But I wanted to, I tried to send everyone this. I sent it to everyone yesterday, early afternoon, but for some reason it did not go through. Wanted to give you a chance to look at it, but it's pretty straightforward. Some places in there is no data. And there may be, that doesn't mean there's no data at all, but there's no data that I could find listed in one of those four sources.
Okay.
And I didn't want to go out, because you never know who you're dealing with out there. So I thought this might be a nice document to have on the website if we want to do that.
This, as far as the contaminant list itself, the chemicals and so forth, it says partial list of potential groundwater sources. So that tells us, it's where it comes from possibly.
Right.
I'm just curious on the list, if that's like every possible,
No, it's partial.
it's a partial.
Yeah, only because they're.
Well, not the second column. What I'm trying to get at, Lou, is you've got, the type of contaminants.
Right.
I mean, are you saying that, or in your findings, those are the only contaminants you'll ever find in groundwater, or are there some that could possibly not be on here? I'm just
Oh,
curious.
yes, there definitely are.
Oh, okay.
What there are ones that now what I did was I took this list from Grandbrier submitted a list of allowable or maximum or contaminants that they found when they did the water quality testing in their wells. And most of this comes from that list.
Most of these.
This is what EPA requires them to test for.
Okay, so this first column is what is required to be tested for? Is
Well,
that
it's
how this
that
accumulates?
plus some other contaminants I found just on EPA or USGS or somebody else's website that I added to this list that originally came from the Grandbrier submittal to EPA.
Okay, so it's accumulation of the sources you looked for
Right,
and the list of contaminants among those 4 sources.
yes.
Okay.
But I
Um,
started with Grandbrier.
Okay,
And then as I was going through the EPA or USGS websites, I found other elements that were not tested for, Grandbrier was not required to test for.
okay.
But I put them on here anyway because it was additional information.
Yeah, I was just curious, maybe we can just add that information, like where these, or why these are on the list at all. I mean, for me, the curiosity is this something you could expect to find in groundwater, or is this all you can find in groundwater,
No, it's a,
Possible.
So it's from
All of it,
accumulation
yeah.
of 4 different places that, okay.
You're just
There's
saying
like
you,
no master list of,
right,
it's not necessarily a master list, but it's a pretty comprehensive list of what potential contaminants you might find in groundwater. Doesn't mean it's gonna happen here in Prospect Heights.
is that something you would want on there, Bob? Just kind of what he just
I
said?
was just curious, because I didn't know where these contaminants came from. If this is like, okay, these are the only contaminants we're concerned with, or what the reference point was. So it's really not like all that could ever appear in water, it's just
No.
what's most likely or what's
It's what
accounted
was,
for
what I
among
could
4
find,
different
what
places.
information I could find,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah, okay.
on those 4, out of those 4 websites.
Because the other 2 columns are kind of self-explanatory. I just didn't know if this was like a limited list or a maximum
Well, we
list.
could
or-
put something on there, maybe as a note or something,
Yeah.
that says,
Accumulation
list
from
is not
4
meant to be-
sources.
List is not meant to be total or something, yeah, something.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I mean, something along those lines we can
Why don't
maybe
I
add in.
Why don't I add
Yeah,
a
the
note to
bottom.
that?
Yeah,
We can add that in as one of the disclaimers.
I'll figure out some.
Yeah, I think you'll do fine coming up with, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
This list is not,
Well,
awesome.
yeah, you don't want
A
people to
complete
look at
list.
it and go, well, geez, this is
Yeah, I mean-
everything,
Oh,
or
thanks.
this might be in my, geez, this might be in my will? Is that what you're telling me? That, I understand that, so.
yeah.
So I will put some kind of a disclaimer on there.
But I think it's a great job. It's a lot of work.
I can't believe you did it. That is a lot of work.
Took a little time, but I thought it would be a useful.
very
No, it's
interesting.
very useful. Thank you very much. Any comment or discussion on the
and
top?
I would just say, as people test their water here, this would be a good resource to go to when they see what's in their water, and then they can go and, it's a table they can go to and see the risks and,
Well, at least get them started.
yeah, exactly, so I think it's great.
And if we get it on the website and, when you have your notes on there and any kind of links or disclaimers that go to the particular site, when we get that put together down the road, that would be helpful. People can go there and get referred right to a credible site.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make those changes and get it out. I said I will make those changes and then get it out.
When you,
Okay.
just, when you put this on your spreadsheet, and you're doing this off online, right?
What do you mean online?
The
When
search.
When you're doing the research,
The search, yes, yes.
yeah. Maybe, well, you've already done a lot of work, but if there was a link that you can put into the spreadsheet for the benefit
No,
of,
well, Peter and I talked about that. The problem is that this represents about 40 different
Oh,
websites,
40.
all underneath those 4 entities. If you go to
Okay.
EPA, there's one website that talks about cadmium, and there's another website that talks about
I
copper.
see.
And so it would be
I
almost
gotcha.
impossible to do that. But knowing that you can go to one of those 4 and find this information out of one of those 4.
well, that would be fine. Get like 4 links saying, utilizing
To
these
the
4
major,
links. You can-
maybe to the say, the Illinois EPA main website?
Yeah, just for convenience when.
Yeah, I can do that, too.
When the public goes in there, or, I'm sure that Peter can do that too if they're not in there, but at least get the
No,
the
I
four
can do
major
those
sites.
four. I'll get their homepage.
Just whether you got the majority of all this, so people can just, as a reference in the notes, you can say, here are the 4 websites where you can find this information, that just make it convenient. But no, it's a lot of work, and thank you very much. Hopefully people appreciate this.
Now, this has nothing to do with the hardness that any individual wells might have, right?
I don't know if I put hardness in here or not, because it's not really a contaminant.
Because that's always what I'm concerned about.
Well, I put in
is
hardness.
Hmm?
I put in hardness,
Yeah, it's about a third of the way down on the second page.
yeah.
Hardness
It
as
doesn't really have a
calcium.
maximum allowable, because it's not a dangerous chemical or anything, but it just, I put where it comes from, and unfortunately, I didn't have anything on what the high concentration was. I don't think it's much, but I couldn't find anything that said yes or no, so I left no data.
Oh, excellent, great. Okay. We have a note on here, a report from Wakanda,
Yeah, I got a report.
and what is in that reference to, if you'll refresh our memory? If you'll refresh our memory on what the
Well,
report from Wakanda is
I
regarding?
I was assigned talking to Content and find out what's going on. They've got a feed coming from, they got a pipe going out to,
This is in regards to getting a water
Lake,
system
yeah,
installed?
the Lake County Fairgrounds is where they got a feed from. Now, I didn't know that they were tied to Lake Michigan, but they must be somehow. And, it should be operational about this time next year. They're laying all the pipe and everything. In addition to that, Volo is gonna join it. And run a line up Michigan, up Route 12 there, to Volo.
Because Wakanda had some issues with some chemicals, right? So is that what's happening, right? And so they're putting in infrastructure
They
for
just-
city water.
They got 6 nice deep wells. And they use 5 of those right now. But I think it's just the idea of getting better water from Lake Michigan, that's all.
Okay.
And I think, they've had infrastructure and everything already in.
So it'd be interesting how they're funding that and all of that aspect. I'd be happy to do work on that. I mean, to find a little more how they're doing it, how they're bringing it in, what was the process, how did it start?
Where did you get your information through, Ralph?
Through them.
Through them? Maybe you can work with Sean, give him some contact information, and he can do some research on that part, or help you out with that, as far as the...
Well, is there any more we need to know?
Well, Sean had questions.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm just curious on how, a little bit more detail, the process and how that started. How did it begin?
they've been trying to hook up to Lake Michigan water for years. And right now, they feed out of Palatine at Deerfield. They were trying to go under 12 and get from Deerfield.
So the city was proactively trying to,
Yeah.
okay,
But that didn't work out.
okay.
Thank you. EPA report?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is either. Does somebody know what the EPA report is on the agenda? Do we have anything in,
Oops.
because we have a note here under the minutes says, we will contact EPA, IEPA, Wakanda, IEPA information, how we already had infrastructure. Oh, that must be,
That's what I just gave
that's
you.
what Ralph was just talking about. So that was part of the Wakanda report. Water Forum, December 2nd. I guess we're talking about a date or no date,
Well, no,
change date.
I'll try to, see, she said September, so I'll try to pin down the Park District before our next meeting.
Okay, so we'll defer that as to the next meeting. Any forum speakers? I guess Jill's not here today. I know she
No,
was
Jill,
working on it.
Apologizes for not being able to make today's date. She had other commitments. She basically has the speakers standing in the wings, waiting for us to confirm a date.
Fine.
Okay, so that,
And she had promised them that we would have a date to
okay,
them by September, and they were okay with that based on the last conversation we had.
okay, so that's tied into the water forum date together, in which
Correct.
Lou has already mentioned we'll have something figured out by September. Okay, survey mailing, outline survey, wish list. I think all of you should have gotten like a rough draft of my thoughts with requests for everybody to look at that, come up with some thoughts, and we're going to defer that into the workshop unless we have comments right now.
I'd like to add something to that, because we talk about getting city water to the residents here, but a large percentage of us already have city water, and they need information too. Like, for an example, pricing. It's getting to be quite high. Is there any way we could get that price down? And our sewer system now is in question. So we do have things that people who have water would be interested in as well.
Well-
Otherwise, we would not attract anybody except people who are looking for sewers.
Well, when it comes to sewers, that's really not considered part of our venue,
That's true.
so that would be a limitation there. We're more about the potable water system. So that's not something we're going to be taking up here.
Okay.
But you're right about the other part. People that already have water have concerns, and that's the prices and acquisition of water. So we can see what we can do about that.
I had a question last night from somebody who was wondering why we went with Chicago. And I don't know much about the city water, but why we went with Chicago and not with Evanston or Glenview? Why did we choose to get Lake Michigan water from Chicago?
Well, it goes through the Illinois Water, and they purchase it, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't their contract and water come like through Bolingbrook or something? I'm not, or, I mean, all water eventually comes from the lake, but, and it's just like an electronic transmission over the lines. The lines come from all over, but it just comes from one source, pretty much, or, well, multiple sources through the lines. So Illinois Water is where we get the water from. Where they acquire it from or where they make their purchases from, we'd have to double check where that's coming from.
I think that was in regards to the high price, you know, they heard Chicago and said, well, Chicago is gouging us, why can't we go to Evanston, why can't we go to another?
Well, the answer to that is, there's contracts and negotiations. We can revisit that to get specific answers, we can do that. And if Rich Tippett was here, he would know that. So, with respect to, I'm sorry, Peter?
If I just may
Yes.
shed some light on it. You're absolutely right. There are other providers of water out there. Not to say it's infinite, but there are a number of water suppliers. But we need to hook up to them. Similar to how the Northwest Water Commission ran their own pipe all the way to Evanston, we could do that. We could go look into buying water from other sources as well. But again, it's an infrastructure issue. So.
You mean our infrastructure?
I didn't know how to answer that.
You mean our infrastructure, or what do you mean?
Well, the infrastructure to get to that water. It wouldn't be possible to buy water from another source and have it go through Illinois American to our customers. Because that wouldn't help us. What you're talking about is competition. What you're talking about is two different sources of water. And to get two different sources of water, you need two different infrastructures to get to that water. So is it possible to go to another provider? Absolutely, but you'd have to put the infrastructure in place to get to that provider. Just like we were talking about getting water from the Northwest Water Commission, if that was a possibility, we'd still have to get infrastructure to the Northwest Water Commission to get that water. So that is the sticking point, is the infrastructure. So there are suppliers out there, but it's an infrastructure issue first.
But our Illinois American supplies us, but that really comes from Glenview.
If that's who they buy that from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's your answer.
It's infrastructure,
Yeah.
and who's responsible for that?
Well,
Well-
it depends, like in the Northwest Water Commission, they have an infrastructure established. They created their own road. Think of the Illinois Tollway. You create a road, people pay to go on that road.
Okay.
If we want our own road, we can build our own road and call it the City of Prospect Heights Water Infrastructure and run a line down to Lake Michigan if it's possible, and pay all that cost just to get water for us.
Okay,
But instead, we purchase it from someone who's already got infrastructure. So that's kind of the way to look at it. You can build your own road to get from here to Colorado, or you can take the ones that are already there and use tollways and their roads, because somebody already paid for them.
okay.
Isn't infrastructure also like the mains and things within the city of Prospect Heights that would be required to distribute all that?
Well, that would be true too, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So infrastructure is your transmission or access or roadway to getting from A to B or delivering something from A to B. Okay, are we good there, everybody? Progress regarding joining Northwest Water Commission, that's where you and Lou went to the meeting, and then we had a follow-up on that.
And then
There's some from-
Joe Wade sent a pretty lengthy letter. Did you see that? Or?
Yes, I did see Joe's letter explaining the situation. And essentially, we could apply for membership or something down the road, but they're not looking to add anybody at the moment. The contract doesn't renew till 2035. So essentially, at this point, there's no benefit.
It's probably a dead issue, yeah.
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
Well, weren't they saying if they were like out of water or something, that they didn't have enough water to allocate to another area at this time? Did
Yeah,
they do
I think
that?
pretty much that's kind of what they're saying, is under the current contract, they can't renegotiate because they don't want to renegotiate the terms. It would be more costly for the members if they did that to open up the contract
Oh.
again before 2035.
Gotcha.
But you are right, and what you're saying does cover that. I think, is that what you understood? Anybody else who read that?
They're not interested at this time.
Yeah, that's basically it.
They don't have the
That's what I
capacity.
got.
They can't, right, capacity, right.
But that makes sense when you hook up displays. They already did that.
Yeah,
I think they said they had an allotment available, is why they let Des Plaines in.
Well, I don't know. It's all,
mean, that-
it's all political.
There's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if that comes off the table, then who else is on the table? Is there other avenues that we can
There are other water sources out there.
take?
It's just a matter of being able to get the infrastructure to that supplier,
All right,
or transmission line access to that supplier, depending on how that's all configured and who owns what. We good on old business at this point? Okay, so new business. Any subcommittee reports? Dee, we'll start with you.
most of my reports have to do with our workshop, so
Okay, so we'll defer those to the workshop.
please.
Okay. Sean?
The only update I have, and maybe we saw this via email, but our chairperson, Sandy Stricker, has stepped down.
Who?
Sandy Stricker.
Sandy?
Yeah, who was our chairperson of the subcommittee. So we'll have to be doing some restructuring and maybe some reinvigorating in that side of things, I would say.
Do you have any idea how many members there are in the subcommittee?
2 or 3?
2 or 3? And Dee, what about on the well water purification?
We've
committee?
lost some people, some interest over the summer. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's going to reignite in the fall.
So what do you think,
But I've got 3 people that
3 people? Okay.
always,
So you each have 2 or 3
Some-
people that are still helping in some way,
Oh, yeah.
still have interest? Okay. Yeah, well, hopefully, when we go into the workshop, we'll be able to come up with some things and get out to the public. Unfortunately, in today's world, it's not like they're all waiting to watch what we do, but when
maybe we
something
have to make
comes
it a
up.
What world
little
were
more
they?
exciting.
What world?
So hopefully, we can get out and get some activity in the fall. We need membership, which we are missing 1 member on our water committee, obviously, and hopefully we can get some interest. So that's the purpose of our workshop. We have on here grant opportunities. I'm not sure,
I did some research.
okay.
Peter, you have something? I just went online and did some research, and, Peter, this is for you, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to, this was part of what was supposed to go out. I can blame everything on
The dog ate your homework, right? Except this was the computer didn't send your email.
What I did was I went online and I found, it's not a grant, but it's a loan program called the PWLSP or SLP, which is Public Water Supply Loan Program. And it's part of the Illinois EPA, and it loans out, there are literally hundreds of millions of dollars available for loans to municipalities that want to do water structures. And I actually added a list to it. So the first page here is kind of just an overview of what it is, and if you look at number 2 under eligibility, that's us, construction of new distribution and or treatment systems to replace individual wells. Now, if we were to find out, and I don't think this is a problem, but if we were to find out that we had some contamination someplace, that would jump right to the top in terms of priority. I don't think that's the case, but if it were, then that would happen. You can see here just some information. Loan is for 20 years. Interest rate is 25% of the available, I'm sorry, let's see.
1/2
1/2.
of the market interest rate.
There it is. The second page is just a draft of an intended use plan that was published here in June, and I put the table of contents in just for your information. But what's interesting here is you go to the next page,
Yeah, this is neat.
and this is a list of all the people who are, have either been approved or have plans and specs, because I think, this is very complicated, but my understanding is the only way to even get on the list or to get them to consider you is you have to have all your plans and specifications completed, everything in place, and then you give that to them, and then they critique it, and then if you fit into their qualification list, then you get the money. But look at some of these, look at some of this disbursement here, and,
The top are actually, it's happening, right?
what's that?
The
I
top.
believe so, yes, that is, the top ones are high priority or have been approved, but look at, here's Oak Lawn, $24 million for something, $40 million for a 60-inch water main. And we'll go to some smaller towns here. If you go to Fox Lake's pretty small.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to us, it's probably around the same. $3.4 million for a 5,000 gallon water tank and rehab. So there's money in there for all kinds of water-related. If you keep going here, there's even more. I don't think this is maybe a little lesser priority than the top list, but let's see, what did I see in here I wanted to point out? I should have marked it. Anyway, if you look in here, there is a lot of money available for infrastructure. Look at Evanston got $20 million for water storage treatment. New Lenox got $7 million for replacement of water mains. So this is replace, add new, all kinds of things, extend mains, build water towers, rehab things. For some reason, the second to last page looks like it's a copy of one of the other ones, but it was separate on the document, so I listed it separately. But there is a lot of potential for loans if you have everything in place. The last page is where you can find, I put in websites of where you can find all the information. For instance, there's a fact sheet which you have. There's the intended use plan, which is, I think, 20 pages. I only gave you 4 or 5. There's a City of Freeport ordinance, which Freeport is a city out west of Rockford, and they were able to get a loan. And of course, you have to pass an ordinance. The city would have to pass an ordinance to be able to borrow the money, and that's a sample of what that ordinance looks like. Then there's a sample ordinance for non-home rural communities, which is what we are. A loan application and a bid plan and spec requirements, because they require all kinds of things in their plans and specs, non-collusion affidavits, and you name it. But anyway, I thought this was interesting, that there is all this money, and now I know it's a loan and not a grant, but still, that money is available out there to qualified.
But see, all these
Entities.
people already have a system in,
No,
huh?
no, I don't think so. Because if you look at number 2, on the first page, construction of a new distribution and/or treatment system to replace individual wells is one of their, right here, on the first one. On 2, look at number 2 on that, right here.
That's the eligibility?
Yeah, under
Yeah.
eligibility. There are a number of different things. I mean, like I said, the priority is
Well, that's what,
water quality, but that's us right there. Number 2 is us.
Is that individual wells for the citizens or individual wells for the
Well,
town?
doesn't really clarify it. So again, I'm not an expert on this. It's very.
This is awesome.
It's very complicated, as most these government programs are, but I just think maybe it has potential, and I think Peter has something to add.
Yeah, just to give you some more information on this, IEPA loans have been out for as long as I've been in municipal government. And any project, whether it be for potable water, the transmission of the supply of water, or even sanitary sewer, would qualify for a low-interest IEPA loan. So those are around. And as far as individual wells, no, this would have to be a city project, of course. So it would have to be the implementation of the new pipe, of the infrastructure. Think of when I say infrastructure, pipes. That's all infrastructure is, or pumping stations, or towers. So it would have to be geared more towards that, a city project, either for potable water or for sanitary sewer. It would not affect private wells or be able to supplement anybody's costs for that. But I did have our grant writer take a look for me as far as grants. And grants are always better than loans. You got to pay back loans. There are no public available loans for well water testing that he could find, but he did find a private grant that could be applied for by individual citizens. He didn't have all the information for me, so I apologize. I don't have it now for you. But there should be something out there that could possibly help individual Prospect Heights residents with a grant for them to test their well water. So I'm hunting that down. Hopefully I'll have that information shortly. I'll be able to disseminate it to the committee, and then we can talk more about it at the next meeting.
Oh, that'd be great. That's good news to hear.
Yeah, so there's nothing, like we had discussed, if the city were to put a well water project in place, where the city could get money to help offset the cost to the residents. But there is something that appears to be a vehicle. I have not confirmed this, and I haven't gotten into the details of it with the grant writer, that there is a vehicle where individual residents can go to a website or that apply and get an individual grant for their well water testing. So any information I get upon that and any clarification, I will, like I said, disseminate it to the council or the committee.
Thank you, Peter.
Great,
That's
good.
awesome.
So I will, I have that last page in that packet, I will email this
Yeah, that'd be good.
out so that you can just click, you don't have to type it all in,
Yeah.
I don't want you to have to do that. And you can go on there and get more information. But it looks, it has potential, I mean, there are communities just like Prospect Heights who are getting loans to, I mean, theoretically, we could get a loan to totally put in all the infrastructure in the city. And then we just have, of course, you'd have, again, you have to have a lot of things in place. I think you have to know who you're tying into, you have to have all your plans and specs done, permits probably, all kinds of stuff, but.
Well, you know,
Fair.
the majority of that has probably been worked on many times through Baxter Woodman, but just never implemented because they did they do these
Well, they've done
feasibility studies, yeah.
But I think in order to get the
So you're gonna
loan,
apply.
you have to actually, I think, and I'm not positive, I think you have to have all your ducks in a row, all your documents.
It would have to be a city project that, from
Right.
engineering to construction, is already set up.
Right, yeah, it would have to.
Right.
But it would be nice, and I don't know if there's any way to do this, it would be nice to know if there is some minimum you could do just to get eligible, you know what I mean, without getting approval. I don't know if that's the case or not.
You could pretty much do anything with IDPA. The city qualifies, as long as it's a city project.
But, I mean, if you look at some of the numbers, some of the money that they're handing out there, I mean, there's, you know,
Substantial.
tens of millions of dollars given out to municipalities just like us.
No, I agree, yeah.
I
You
know
know-
that this isn't probably the forum to talk about it, but would it be smart, since, I mean, one of the concerns is fire safety. I mean,
Well, I'm sure
Put a
that's
loan
probably a
like-
concern in every, I'm guessing, that's a concern in everybody who's going in there trying to change over from well to municipal water. I'm guessing that would certainly wouldn't hurt us. I think that would give us points in terms of,
Priority.
I mean, could that be a
Right.
place where we could start to build the infrastructure around the water safety
well, I
issue?
think you have to, I think.
Or the fire
In order
safety
to,
and fire prevention?
do little pieces, I think you have to have a master plan first. You know, so that you don't step on your feet while you're doing phase one and find out, oh, I wish I would have done this to do phase two. You need to have it all done, I think. That's probably what they're looking for. I don't know, Peter,
Well-
you might know, but
I think,
you
Peter,
could make
we
that
have,
part of it, though.
we have a master plan already that it's available.
Yeah.
It just needs to be updated to current cost because Baxter Woodman has done these studies. We have, in fact, when I was doing SSA 6 and every SSA, they refer to that plan so that you fit within that puzzle. So it's there.
I think, though, in terms of,
What it is the need and developing the grant information to go along with that plan.
but, correct me if I'm wrong, you need to have, what we have is good, and that would be a good guide to produce construction drawing, but I'm pretty sure you have to have contract documents and specifications that you could hand to a contractor and say, here, go build it. I think you have to have that is what gets approved. Is
Again,
that-
if it's a city project, all that is in place.
Right, but what I'm saying is that it has to be in place to get the loan.
You couldn't just say, we want to put in a
Right,
water,
here's our.
water distribution system, give us money.
I think what you're saying, Peter, is that it's there, but until the city says we're going to do it, it's not going to go anywhere.
I mean, you're absolutely correct. It's a funding issue. You know, this isn't a grant. You know, it's something that has to be paid back. Like you said, it's got to be voted upon. You know, the residents would need to be behind it, so.
Yeah, so what,
We have what you're concerned about.
yeah, what Peter's telling you, yeah. Everything we're discussing here has been reviewed, and it's to the point of, okay, we need the city to say, yes, we're going to do it.
Right, that's the next step.
Okay, and until that happens, until the residents say, yeah, we're willing to do this,
Well, I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I was looking through here, and I think all those plans and specifications and all that, the construction drawings are also part of the loan. I mean, I think you can incorporate that into the loan also, as opposed, not just the construction, but the whole engineering part. Do you have any idea on a situation like this, let's say everything, we got the loan, how does the city pay it back? Where do the funds come from? Is it just from the water tapping or?
We're getting way beyond our skis. It would
Just
just need to be
curious.
paid back by the city. And, I mean, whether that could be through, Prospect Heights is I would say strange animal. It's a different animal than other municipalities around us, in so much as we're non-home rule. And what people may not understand about non-home rule is we don't tax you. The city doesn't tax you for the basic operations of the city, for infrastructure, for their police, for City Hall. The only tax you actually receive from the city of Prospect Heights on your property taxes is about 4.5%, and that goes to a street bond, to pay back a street bond. It also goes to pay for police pension. So now you're talking into a financial realm. Would it be possible to go out, bond out for this infrastructure implementation and add a tax, a property tax? Would that be possible? Would it be picked up some other way? As a non-home rule community, we can't just tax for something. Whereas Mount Prospect, Wheeling, Arlington Heights around us, if they were in this situation, they could just do it and then pass the cost on to the consumer, to the resident.
Would we need a referendum to pass something like this?
Something this large, I would say yes.
Yeah.
I know we've probably done road bonds, which went on the property tax bill. Those had to be passed through referendum. I wasn't here when that happened, but I would only assume. Just like with the whole home rule thing, that would have to be voted on by the residents. If you're talking about anything with their property taxes, it would more than likely have to go through the referendum process.
Okay, thank you.
Peter, do you by chance know the percentage of people who are roughly on well water and on city water? I don't have any idea.
We've got about 2,200 homes on well water, I know that. City water, about, I'd say 350 residences are on city water, going by the bills. And then going by, and because you also have to understand that there's a large swath of Prospect Heights in the northeast section that is under Illinois American. So their sewer and their water is paid for through Illinois American. That's more of our high-density condominiums and apartments on the northeast side. So if you're looking at total, we may have, I want to say maybe 3,600 homes. I'm trying to spitball. I could be way off on that number, but the vast majority, if you're talking about well and water that's supplied by the city of Prospect Heights, I think it's 2,200 on wells, maybe 350 on city-supplied water.
Thank you.
Yeah, getting back to the question, Lou, that you addressed to Peter, and he was explaining the funding mechanism and how we obtain the funds and apply them to your tax bills. In theory, you could get 1,000 people to create an SSA and have that SSA added to your property tax bill, as opposed to a referendum.
Mm-hmm.
That's another way of getting it done. That's how, our SSA was done. And most SSAs are done that way, where you get your residents, and then it's approved that that particular group of residents gets put on the tax
There
bill.
were no loans involved in your?
Oh, we did, yeah. You get the loan first to pay people off, and then we reimburse the city for that loan. And this IEPA loan is a valuable commodity, which we didn't have at the time, because we paid I think we're paying about 5% interest. I'm not 100% sure. At that time, that's what the loan rate was that we got. And it was about a $2.8 million bond. So, and that's paid off over 20 years. So yes, if you had an IEPA loan and your interest rate drops by half, that saves your overall cost of getting the loan.
Sure.
The good news is that once you establish your funding, it never increases. It's not like regular property taxes. So,
That portion of your tax never goes up.
that portion will never go up. It's a flat, here you go, 20 years, it'll never change kind of deal. So that's the benefit of if you do put it on your taxes, maybe you'll be there 20 years, maybe you'll be there 5 years, but it'll never go up. All the other stuff around you can go up, but not your SSA loan or charge,
Okay, thank you.
so. Any other comment on grant opportunities? Okay, before we go on, we don't have this on the new business, but before we go on to our workshop, what I had wanted to do, since Ann left a few months ago and never thought about it, was to replace Ann in a position of co-chair in the event I'm not here to run a meeting. So I went ahead and I thought to myself, who, has put a lot of work into this, and is pretty in tune with things, I decided, I asked Lou if he would do that. So I'd like to propose that Lou replace Ann as co-chair.
I'll
If we can
second.
have some
I
comment.
second.
Okay, we have a second already?
I'll third.
So,
Congratulations.
all in favor? Well, wait, let's get the official vote. All in favor of Lou being our new co-chair replacing Ann? Aye.
Aye.
Passed. Now you can congratulate her.
Thank you very much.
No, it's a pleasure, Lou. You've done a lot of work, you do a lot of research, you're very diligent, you're dependable. All the qualities that, make a big difference in anything with regards to helping the city and people around you. So, it's something I've thought about for a while. I just never got around to it. So thanks for accepting.
Thanks for asking.
Okay,
Can
so.
we have a family hug?
No, we can't.
So at this point, do we have anything else, or should we move for adjournment before moving into our workshop? Are we good? Can I have a motion to move into adjournment for this portion and move on to the workshop?
Aye.
No, a motion?
Motion.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All
Second.
approve? Aye.
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 Okay, let's hold on. Our next meeting, forgot about that.
September.
What would that be?
I believe it would have been September,
16.
Yeah, yes, it is 16th.
September 16th? Okay, so the next meeting is September 16th at this time. And I think we can,
On the agenda,
Yeah.
what do you want for the next meeting?
do we need that agenda now?
No, but we will need it.
Yeah, well, we're going to be in a workshop, so. All right, so I think we can go into full adjournment now.